The second concept that I would like to discuss here is about attacks. So then how can we protect us, right? So there are so many attacks, cybersecurity attacks, all right? What is an attack? Attack is possible or assault targeting your data or information or the services to compromise or get unauthorized access. There are three must-have components to complete an attack. Those are known as vulnerability, exploit, and the motivation. Different sources can refer these as in different terms, but in order to complete an attack, any type of attack, it can be small attack to very complex attack, these three must be completed, must be. Not only, all three must be completed. Security professional perspective, our objective should be at least eliminate one of those. At least one. If you eliminate one, we are good. Right? Then let's quickly go through what are those. Vulnerability is existence of weakness. So without weakness or without vulnerability, attackers will not be able to launch any attack. Right? So without any vulnerability, no one will be able to compromise a target. Right? Because of that, vulnerabilities are very important. So vulnerabilities are existence of weaknesses. And then what is exploit? Exploit is defined way to compromise the target. Defined way to compromise target. And the motivation is how motivated attacker to compromise the target. All three matters to launch an attack. If you can eliminate one, there won't be any attack. So then every security professional, what they do is they would try to eliminate any of those. But the bad thing is, guys, do we have any control over attackers' motivation? We have very little motivation. For example, you can remain unexposing. I mean, you can remain not exposing the information, because what attackers would do, they can't just go and randomly hack, even though some of the movies shows like that, right? So what they can do is they will have to go through set of phases. We're going to be talking about this today. Starting off with information gathering. They need a lot of information. I'll show you one example, right? So I'm going to open up my command line. Yeah. And then let's say there is a email system, right? So for example, if I type let's say ns lookup, and then I'm gonna set my query equals to any right, and then I'm gonna enter a domain name, let's say protrainersHub.com. When you do that, it gives me information related to this email domain. So it gives me information related to where it was stored. So it is hosted apparently RDK revenue, right? And also you can see responsible mail address, this person's email address, and the serial number, refresh rate, TTL value, and so on and so forth. And also it shows you ProTrainersHub MX preference, right? Meaning mail exchanger preference. So it says mail exchanger is protrainershub.com, mail protection outlook.com. So this is an information attackers can obtain. So then attacker knows, all right, email store is this one. And also if you go to SPF record, sender protection framework would say if anyone sending email on behalf of ProTrainersHub they must be using this particular IP or this IP or this IP. Protectionoutlook.com is Microsoft 365 and one Zoho. Zoho is a Zoho offers so many services, we know, CRM facilities and invoices and various other. They have lots and lots of them. They have huge product portfolio. They are authorized to send on behalf of Proteus out. I hope you understand. And then attacker would know, right? This email is hosted by this particular location. So since it's protection.outlook.com, attackers knows this is hosted in Microsoft 365. Then I'm gonna quit from here. Attacker would quit from here and then try to ping this IP. Now it knows, all right, this is the IP address of the email service provider. And then he would try to access email service by, let's say, Telnet. Telnet is a client that we're going to be using. He can use this one, or he can simply type the found IP address 52.101.151.5 and then have to mention we are looking at port 25, which is SMTP. Okay. When I enter, now we are connecting to the email service. In this case, it shows you this is the host name and that it hosted, and then this is the complete email address. It is hosted in Microsoft ESMTP mail service. ESMTP mail service, right? So we know it's a mail service, but now attacker is a little bit disappointed and discouraged because there is no much information about this one. I'll show you one more thing, right? Let me just close this one, right? I'm going to open it, open my command line again. Let's look at another email service, right? So now I'm going to do is NS lookup. So this is a tool that we're going to be using when dealing with DNS records. I'm going to set all the findings to this time set Q equals MX. I need only mail exchanger. So earlier I said any, that's why I got a bunch of other information. So I'm going to say, let's say this particular domain. This is one of the Sri Lankan domains. I'm going to enter this. Now you could see again this mail exchange is this one. Since I need more information, I'm going to say set Q equals any, and then I'm going to recall this again. Right? Now you get more information like this is behind Cloudflare mail service. Likewise, we can retrieve more and more information. Okay, so likewise. But if attacker find information like the version number of the target, he will be a bit more motivated. So likewise, we can do a little bit, but you can't completely control attacker motivation. Oh, what about the exploit? Exploit is defined way to compromise system. There are so many exploit databases there. For example, if I go here, you can say exploit, let's say exploit DB, right? So exploit DB is exploitation database where you can find lots and lots of exploits, defined way to compromise target. For example, if I click on any of the exploits, you can download these exploits, target the target machine. So this is written for GeoVision ASM Manager Windows application 6.1.2.0 version for the remote code execution. So the meaning is if attacker found on a target, they are running GeoVision AS Manager Windows application 6.1.2.0, it is vulnerable. And then attacker can use this exploit. So the attacker can simply download it and use it against the target. Done. Okay. Now there are so many exploit databases we're going to be talking about during about various databases during the session. And then the vulnerability. What is vulnerability? Vulnerability is a existence of weakness. What we can do about vulnerability? Now we know we cannot control motivation, we cannot control exploit. At least can we control the motivation? So that's where our objective during this session. So we are going to conduct penetration testing. So penetration testing, during penetration testing, we're going to be we're going to be testing on the scope or the target to see if there are any vulnerabilities that we can recover. Vulnerabilities are existence of weakness. Guys, if you can't find vulnerabilities on a target, the best hacker in the world will not be able to compromise the target. Because of that, it is very essential to remove all the vulnerabilities. The question is, can we remove all the vulnerabilities from a target? Can we remove all the vulnerabilities on target? No. Because the reason is there are two types of vulnerabilities. One is known as known vulnerabilities. Known vulnerabilities, also known as published vulnerabilities. Published vulnerabilities. What are published vulnerabilities? Let me show you what are published vulnerabilities. If I go to nvd.nist.gov. This is a national vulnerability database of National Institute of Standard and Technology. This is a vulnerability database. So if you go to vulnerabilities, you would see large list of vulnerabilities. Let's expand this and then go to search and statistics. So it would show you huge list of known vulnerabilities or published vulnerabilities. Now you can see there are 300,000 pages and 25 vulnerabilities each page, right? So you can see these vulnerabilities like this. And also each vulnerability, we will discuss about this the next day probably. So it has got common vulnerability exploit number and the list of the information, and then how severe it is through the common vulnerability scoring system. And then this is the unique number given, unique identity or identification given for this particular vulnerability. And the published date is this one. So this is US standard. So this is September 5th. They released this vulnerability, right? This database has all the published vulnerabilities by the different researchers. So you can see researchers are there, right? I hope you understand. So these are known vulnerabilities. Now, let's say during vulnerability assessment, what we would do is we will analyze the target to find existence of vulnerabilities. And if we find any, we offer the recommendation to our client to fix the vulnerability, or known as remediate this vulnerability. We get them to remediate this vulnerability. And are we done then? Are we secure? Of course not. Because there are some vulnerabilities known as unknown vulnerabilities, also known as 0 days, guys. This term is you're familiar. 0 days. What are 0 days? 0 day is there is a vulnerability, but we are not aware of. We are not aware there is a vulnerability. How can this be possible? Because there are so many attacker communities in the dark web, and also attack communities working on different targets without our knowledge, because we are working for the organizations 8 hours or 9 to 5, but attackers might be working 24 hours every day trying to break our systems. There are so many, we don't know how many number of threat actors are trying to break our systems. So the problem is 0 days. Even though we fix it, this is the little hope that we have, guys. Only thing that we can work on is removing known vulnerabilities, but there are a bunch of unknown vulnerabilities are there. There's so many vulnerabilities I can list out. Moodle put and heartbleed, shell shock. Those are vulnerabilities we thought the bash shell of Linux systems are secure. We were using this for a decade, but suddenly somebody launched an attack. Then we found out, oh, there was a vulnerability all this time without our knowledge. That can happen because we don't know everything about it. There can be vulnerabilities which is not published. So that's the reason we use bounty hunters, security professionals to test the environment to find if there are any vulnerabilities which are not recovered yet. So those are known as 0 days. And then now you can see how hard to protect our systems, because there are 3 components out of which we have control over only known vulnerabilities. Then what we can do now as security professionals, what we can do is we can do something called attack surface reduction. Attack surface reduction meaning we don't know there are vulnerabilities, but we can reduce this attack surface. What is attack surface? Attack surface refers to any avenue that attacker can compromise our system. Any avenue that attackers can compromise our systems. So it can be through usernames, compromising users, compromising applications, compromising devices, compromising physical access. What we can do is we can strengthen all these areas. For example, a few years ago in Sri Lanka, many of the government websites were attacked. The reason was there were so many IDs created, so many FTP accounts created, but they were not managed properly, not removed properly. They created an account assigned to a developer, and when the developer leaves, they create another account to the next developer. They have not removed the previous account. So there were so many accounts that were there that those were not kind of managed properly. So that's where they got access. So attack surface reduction is there. So that's the reason we ask people not to install all the applications in the world in your phones or the devices. And even if you look at your phone, there can be thousands of applications installed because nowadays phones are very strong. They've got higher processing power, higher storage and all that. So they keep lots and lots of data. But more applications installed in the meaning is you are more vulnerable for attacks. So that's the reason when it comes to critical infrastructures, we use principle called one service for one server. So if it is a server, we are installing single service. We don't install multiple service. We don't install any other tools, right? Even a recent attack targeting Sri Lanka pension department, I have done one video even for that. So that's there because the particular server, someone has installed a game. On the server, someone has installed a game, the backdoor installed as a part of the game, and then somebody has access and they plant a ransomware malware. Okay, so I hope you understand. So by doing so, we can reduce it. I'm not saying that you have 1,000 users, only create 100 accounts. No, you can create 1,000 accounts, but you need to make sure when a person leaves the organization, straight away block the ID, right? That is what we need to do. So I hope up to this point clear. One more thing before we move on. The last but not least, this is very important security concept known as security functionality ease of use. So this triangle represents security, functionality, and the ease of use or user friendliness. User friendliness. This one is a hypothetical triangle because sometimes people ask, can't we have highest security in the world? No one can offer 100% security. So that's why recently when one of the most secure person in the world, Donald Trump, US president, was attacked very close to his brain, and he narrowly escaped with a bullet by the sniper, because the reason is no one can provide 100% security. Always there is a residual risk because he has to travel, right? The best security that people can give is keep him inside the White House and restricting all the access. So then what's the point? The functionality is not there then, right? So then what it says is, if ever a company, organization, personnel wanted to improve maximum security, then you're losing functionality and ease of use. User friendliness is not there whenever you enforce more and more security. Even implementing two-factor authentication will reduce the user friendliness a lot. And then if you move this one to functionality, if you need more and more functionalities, obviously it's challenging for the security and also the user friendliness. But if you need more user-friendly system, then you're compromising security and functionality. The best example is Windows 95 and 98. These were the apparently most user-friendly operating system comparatively at that time, back in 2000. Okay, and this introduced lots of functionality issues, lots of blue screens if you ever have experience with them, and also world's most disastrous malware top 10 malware reported between 1995 to 2005. I love you virus, CIH virus, and so many other viruses were reported at that time. So I hope you understand.